Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this great world of ours. Today is July 13th, 2026, and it is day 32 of my new video challenge. So today, I want to set some intentions, and I want to make it public. And the reason why I'm doing that is because it scares me to do that. So one of my friends once told me that the things fear is his compass. So whenever he feels afraid to do something, he knows that's the direction he needs to go in. And I completely agree with that. I also think it's a lot easier said than done. However, once you actually start doing it, not only does it become a lot easier, it actually becomes addictive. Um, and so I am going to talk about my intentions. One of my biggest fears is failure and judgment, being judged as a failure. And so I often really do not share any of my intentions with people because I sort of want to, work on it in secret and then, you know, spring it on everybody, once it's done. But I believe, sometimes you do need to sort of keep things to yourself when you're working on them. And there is a time and a place with that. But I think the overall nature of trying to keep everything secret is does more harm than good. Uh, and one of the reasons is that it doesn't allow you to ask for help. It doesn't allow you to say, "Hey, I want to do this, but I'm not really sure how. Does anybody have any suggestions?" Right? Um, and so, one of the intention I want to set is that I want to make a living as a content creator, and I'm not really sure how that's going to look. I don't know if it's going to be me making money directly off of, YouTube ad revenue, or if I'm just using the videos I put up as a way of interacting with people, because I do have a desire to be a life coach. This is something that goes all the way back to my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I had planned on getting my PhD in counseling psychology and being a counselor, and then that just got derailed for a lot of different reasons. I don't need to go into it right now. But part of it was my inability to really just ask for help. Like, how do I do this? How do I prepare for graduate school? And I didn't know how to not only ask for help, but also create good relationships with people in the School of Psychology, in the psychology department at my university, um, and seek out mentors and things like that. Right? I just didn't know how to do that. Um, and I just kind of bumbled my way through. And by the time I graduated, I was feeling overwhelmed and I wanted to take a break. And I went to San Francisco and just immediately got sucked into the whole .com thing because I happened to like computers as a hobby. And at that point in time, anybody who knew anything about computers could immediately get close to a six-figure salary. And you needed that because suddenly San Francisco just overnight went from a very affordable place to live, where you had this mix of really wealthy people, but you had a mix of really workaday people, and there was a place for everybody there. And after the .com boom started, that really went away. Like it was kind of a case of musical chairs. Like the music stopped, and if you didn't have an apartment when the music stopped, when the .com boom started in earnest, you were sunk. You were done, right? because rents doubled, tripled, quadrupled overnight. People were writing, they were willing to write a check for the first year of of rent. It was insane. So getting back, yeah, it's my intention to use YouTube as a platform um, to make money. I have struggled with this for 9 years. I knew back in 2017 that that's what I was supposed to do. It has been a struggle bus. I've been riding the struggle bus for 9 years. However, I've been doing the work. I'm here. I'm showing up every day. I feel, man, I cannot even describe the difference in how I feel now sitting down in front of the camera and talking versus the last 8 years when I would try and sit down. And the first several years was just panic attacks. Even thinking about turning the camera on was a panic attack, just instant panic attack. Um, and yet I was still able to do it on several occasions. Like there was a point in time, 2018, 2019, where I was doing a video maybe like once every week or so. Um, and it was hard, but I was doing it. And then it got to a point where I was kind of able to do the videos, but I was still feeling really self-conscious about what am I going to talk about? What am I going to do? And every time I would think about that, I would get overwhelmed and it was too much and I would just avoid it, right? Which is not the right thing to do. It's like get in there, get messy. Get messy. It's okay to be messy. It's okay to look foolish. It's okay to look amateurish. It's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to not know everything, and getting in there and being messy and doing things and trying things is how you learn. There was a book out there, and I think it was written by Jesse Ventura. And no, maybe it wasn't. I forget who wrote the book. And it was Failure is Not an Option. And there's two ways you can think about that. Failure is not an option. One is that this thing is so important we cannot fail. So that's one way of thinking about that phrase. Failure is not an option. Another way of thinking about that phrase is if you want to succeed, you must fail. And I first started thinking that way when, several years ago, maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that, when I watched a Denzel Washington commencement speech that he gave. And he said, if you want to succeed, he said, get ready to fail in life. Because if you want to succeed big, you have to be willing to fail big. And that really resonated. I was just like, oh my God, he's so right, because that's how you learn. We learn by trial and error. We learn by, you have to fail to learn. That's how we learn, right? And somehow, somewhere along the way, some of us, not all of us, but some of us, a lot of us, I think, forgot that. We forgot that failure is part of the process. It's not an option because it's part of the process. If you're not willing to fail, you're just going to sit on your hands for the rest of your life, which, I got to be honest, I've done a lot of that in my life. I've just sat on my hands because I was so up in my head about, the first 12 years of school for me. And I didn't have a healthy relationship with my humanity, which is we try things, we don't always succeed, and it's not that big of a deal, right? I made it a big deal because of just my childhood experiences, but it's not that big of a deal. It's okay. It's okay to fail. Anyway, so yeah, that's my intentions. And I want to just put it out there just to put it out there so that I can get over feeling hesitant about communicating my thoughts and ideas. It's one of my thoughts and ideas. I want to be, I want to be a content creator, or I want to use my voice and my knowledge and my personality to make money. And so many people in my life have told me over and over again, you should go into radio, or you should be on YouTube. You should have a podcast. You should, you have so many great thoughts when I'm just out with coffee, having coffee with people, and we're talking about things, and I put my 2 cents in, and everyone's just like, wow, you really need to share this. And that's really great to hear, but it's also kind of like, well, I don't know, where do I start? Where do I go? What, I'm also not a self-starter. You see that, maybe in some job descriptions. Are you a self-starter? No, I am not. If you give me a blank page, I get stuck in the mud. I'm best when I'm given a framework within which to work, right? If I have a framework, I can build on that like nobody's business. But you give me a blank page, and I'm just really, I don't know where to start. And maybe it's because I'm so good at seeing all options. When everything's an option, nothing's an option. When everything's important, nothing's important, right? It's one of those kind of things, right? But, plot me down in a company where I worked in a lot of startup companies. I loved working in startup companies because, it wasn't a blank canvas as far as I was concerned, right? Somebody had already said, here's what we're going to do. Here's the direction we're going to go in. And then me, as the person who was creating the IT infrastructure for that company, I'm like, good. Like, I know what your objectives are. Now I can base all of the IT infrastructure off of your objectives. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing, right? And I was great at it. I'm really great systems architect, solutions architect, planner, implementer, that kind of thing. That's where I thrive. I'm really good at that. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, so that's it. I'm going to start playing around. I'm going to start trying some different things. And I have faith that I will organically find my way to where I'm supposed to be. And part of that is just doing what I'm doing right now. Giving you my, hey, this is what I want to do. So, all right, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. Please remember, you are more loved than you know, and you are far more valuable than you can imagine. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.